Welcome to the Deconstructing Data live stream and podcast. I'm Jesse Lezak, CMO at BeatX, along with David Finkelstein, BeatX's founder and CEO. What's new, David?
Hey, Jesse. Good to see you. It's been a week since I've seen you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
All's good. I'm glad everything here is working because I just saw that there's a whole bunch of major services that are down today. Like Microsoft has some outages, Gmail, Azure. There's all kinds of stuff that's down today. So
wow.
luckily, it's not affecting us in our live stream.
Do they know like what the root cause of it is? Is it like one time it was like a Cloudflare thing and then like all these thousands of apps are down?
Yeah, I don't even know. All I know is that like, I was just messaging the team because emails weren't showing up because of Outlook.
Oh.
And I was like, hey, what's going on with email? And they just sent me a screenshot of Down Detector that shows all these services that are down. So I don't know. Something's going on out there.
Hopefully we don't have any disruptions on this episode because it's going to be a really great episode. I can't believe we're on 187. We're going to be at 200 episodes before you know it.
Yep. It's crazy.
And I don't know if you heard me mention pre-show. We'll have 2 next week. So hopefully you can attend both of those.
Yeah. When you rescheduled one, I thought you were like moving one to 1 o'clock, and I was like, oh, okay, we can do 1 o'clock. Oh, now I'm doing 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be around and we'll be getting to 200 episodes before you know it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're good conversations and people were available, so we got it booked. So we hope everyone listening can come back and tune in. We'll see how the 1 o'clock hour works for the show. We've never done that before.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, today we've got a special guest coming on. We've got Cynthia Krantz. She's the founder and president of Mezzo Creative. We're thrilled to bring her on. Welcome to the show, Cynthia.
Hi.
Hello.
Great to meet you guys. Hi.
Yeah, we're glad you could join us on the show today, and we'd love for you to kick it off for us. So why don't you give our viewers and listeners a chance to get to know you a little bit, and give them a little bit of background, where you came from and what led you to found Mezzo Creative. I know we got the scoop beforehand, but I'd like you to share it with everybody else.
Okay, so I have my bachelor's in communication studies from Furman University and a master's from Marshall University in journalism and mass comm. And I cut my teeth in New York City at J. Walter Thompson, then JWT, in the production department. My project management and production specialty kind of drove me into different avenues in my career. So I ended up working in healthcare for a little while, using my operations skills to advertise for different and promote different services within a dermatology department, which was fun, and some other departments. And then my second son needed a little bit of assistance. He had been very, very sick, and he had some delays as a result of it that we figured he would grow out of, but he needed support to get through them. And so I was moving, and I thought, I don't have the social capital at a new office anywhere to take care of this baby the way he needs me to. And that had to be my primary calling at the time. But I didn't want to give up my career. And so I talked to a very good friend of mine who said to me, who had worked with me at JWT, and she said, what's the producer's adage? And I said, pick 2. You can have it done fast, cheap, or done well. Pick 2. And she says to me, pick 2, Cindy. You can have your family, your health, or your career. If you get 2 in line, then you can run and fight for the 3rd. And I thought, okay, I'm nothing without my family. I'm nothing without my health. And I thought, I have to shift my career to accommodate for the other 2. And so I ended up starting Mezzo. And it has been a great, great journey. It is a fully remote agency. We specialize in digital media. We also occasionally do print media because that was my first love. And we do primarily organic and paid social, SEM and SEO, as well as some website builds. And our real jam is analytics. So that's Mezzo.
That's awesome. I love that journey, and I love that putting your family first enabled you to, create a whole new journey for yourself and in your business world as well. So that's fantastic. Good for you. And would love to just dive right into the topics and talk a little bit about social analytics, which I know is one of the things that you said you wanted to talk about. And so would love for you to kick this off for us.
So let's start with the the Meta follower, I think lie, which is that Meta and Instagram follower lie, which is that your analytics of follower count, followers now are so easy to buy. And that was a trend for a really long time. So you'll see a lot of companies that have very, very, very large followings that don't really reflect the engagement on the platform, as well as you'll see some people say you need to really, really boost your follower count. And I completely agree, you have to boost your follower count. But the analytics show that engagement and other ways of measuring engagement are more important. So that's one little thing. You want to get all the followers you can, but organic social is a slow burn. Paid social allows you to do a lot more by reaching non-followers, people that don't see your content and don't follow you, and growing them, engaging them, and things like that. So if you have a brand, I don't want you to get discouraged when you see organic following being very, very low. I wouldn't go out and buy followers. And I think that's becoming less and less of a trend because bots are such a real thing now. But that's a first warning for a small brand. Follower campaigns are important as well, where you can say follow as the call to action. I think that's really important. But then digging into the other analytics, they tell us who is doing what with your content. So you need to be reviewing your analytics monthly at minimum to say, this content really resonated with somebody, so I need to do more of that. This content did not resonate, so I need to do less of that. This content may be important and it's kind of a non-negotiable, so whether people want it or not, I got to put it up there. You need to have those 3 buckets and keep them in mind when you're looking at your analytics. We always go through top posts, top reels. And so that kind of leads into your content discussion. Your analytics should drive what content you use on social. And your analytics should also drive what you're doing on social relative to follower campaigns, relative to how you engage, hashtags you're following. It isn't just social analytics is the end all be all, but it is literally the metrics that measure what you should be doing and what you are doing right and where there's opportunities to improve.
I love that. I love that you started that whole thing with followers are a lie, because it's the reality is that it's engagement that really matters, right? And that's what you're saying. I found that on LinkedIn too. And it's like LinkedIn, it used to be, we used to be able to post something on LinkedIn and basically all of our followers would see it, right? It doesn't exist anymore. And now LinkedIn's model has changed around engagement as well, just like Meta and others, which, can be a little frustrating, because you think you have all these people and you want to just sort of shout to them all and say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what we're doing, or whatever it is. And they're not going to see it unless you can sort of do it in a way that creates some sort of engagement with them as well.
100%. I think that I've seen the same on LinkedIn. Twitter's X is a whole different world.
Yeah.
But I've seen the same on LinkedIn, where it's cultivating audiences and cultivating engagement, recognizing that your content isn't necessarily automatically going to be sent to somebody's feed the way you want it to be. And that's why I'm also saying a lot of it these days, it is pay to play. They're in it for the money, and they want you to pay to be on their platform and to be successful on their platform. So even if you have a small budget, and let's say it's Meta, okay, you have a small budget, boost a post, watch your again, use the analytics, watch the performance of a post that's doing really well and boost that one. Don't just boost willy-nilly. Don't just boost because you want to. Wait for the right post, boost it, unless you have the budget for a dark ad, which is obviously a higher spend. Same with LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn is a higher price point, okay, for entry. But if you're creating content and you're engaging with other people and you're reposting, I think that's the whole point, is they want to create these communities. And so if you can participate and show the platform, show the algorithm, I'm one of you, I'm participating in the community, I'm helping you achieve your goals, they're going to push your content out more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about that engagement now. That's
Yes.
They want you to pay. Even like the LinkedIn Premium, I feel like on company pages for sure you can notice a difference. If you get a company page, LinkedIn Premium, it'll expose it to more followers and your follower count just really starts to go up. But you're
Yes.
right. You have to ignore the follower count because it can just be purchased these days.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
We
not
had-
only that, like you just said, like you might have that many followers and your followers may be going up, but just because you're posting doesn't necessarily mean all those followers are actually seeing it unless you are using, a sponsored or paid.
Bingo. And I think that's where you look at the analytics and you say, who really saw it? How much of a percentage was non-followers? How much of a percentage was followers? What's my demographic? Maybe I'm reaching a ton of people, but they don't want my service or product.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would be careful too because I know some influencers who get a ton of engagement, but they make no sales. And so,
Right.
like,
Mhm.
just looking at engagement alone, it can be harmful, because I've also seen live streams that have no engagement, but then one person who sat there and watched the whole thing ends up booking a call afterwards, so it's just like it is kind of hard to tell, but I don't know. What do you think it comes down to? Like, what is the secret sauce for social analytics, at least to make it all come together?
I think the secret sauce is a combination of organic, really good quality organic content that legitimizes your paid opportunities. I think it's knowing your demographic really well, uh, knowing what content is resonating with them so it drives more engagement. I think it's also the discipline of being on the platform all the time. Everybody wants to do social on their own, especially organic, because now everybody has Canva and it's great and we can do all of it. But unless you have somebody in the back end that is following hashtags, liking, unliking, following, unfollowing, doing all these things in the back end, it's a job. It's a job for a reason because it's work it's a discipline to get it done. So I think as
Mhm.
far as social analytics go, you need to look at what your priorities are. If your priority is leads and you're not getting any leads, then you're right. Maybe you need to change your call to actions on your calls to action on your ads or on your content. If you are decreasing followers, you always want to be in the green. So if you're decreasing followers, nobody's resonating with your content, or maybe you're not posting regularly enough. There's a lot that goes with it. It's consistency on all of these platforms. They want consistency, and that's what I was saying. They want to create a community. So you have to show that you are a regular, responsible, paying member of the community, and you will have better success.
Yeah, definitely. Such a good point. I'm glad you brought up ads.
Mhm.
Um, and speaking of ads, hopefully all those ads will drive some traffic to your website. But it's always hard to get them out of those, what are they called? The gated communities or whatever. What's the word? I'm trying to think of the
Walled
gated
garden.
walled garden.
Well,
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Then we get them on our website and we can actually analyze on Google Analytics, which has had so many changes since I've been a marketer.
no
Um,
kidding.
yeah, can you kick us off on Google
Mhm.
Analytics?
Google Analytics are really interesting because, as you said, they have really shifted things. I think your Google Analytics are only as good as your tags are, and only as good as your ability to read them. A lot of people say, "I want to set up Google Analytics," and then they have nothing on the website. No actions are tagged, and so you can't see what people are doing on your site, which we can get into more into website analytics. I was telling you before that I think dashboards are important, even if the client doesn't need to see them, the marketer does, because you need it in a space where you really can look at the holistic 360 view, the bird's eye view, and say, this is who is coming, this is who is leaving. And we'll get into more of that on websites. But for Google has so many different opportunities, right? So it's not just an ad, okay? It can also be your Google reviews. It can also be your Google Maps listing and things like that. And suddenly you're like, wow, that's a lot. YouTube is a Google property, there's a lot of different aspects of Google Analytics that you need to hone in on. So some of it is just there's not enough time in the day, and you're saying, okay, my priority is driving clicks, or my priority is driving calls. right? So it starts off with what's the point of your ad? And then once you have the ad, it's managing the keywords, the negative keywords. It's managing the SEO on your site to pull in those keywords to improve your ranking. How are you ranking in Gemini? That's a whole new thing, right? So
Yeah.
I think that your Google Analytics will tell you about the health of your ads. It will also tell you the health of your site. It will also tell you the health of a lot of other things as far as the overall view on the internet of what people think of you and your products and how successful you are at marketing your brand. We prefer in general at Mezzo to pull things from individual platforms. So we would pull it directly from Meta. We would pull it from Google Analytics. We would get as much as we can in there because there's between Meta and Google, there can be some fall off. And so it's helpful to have it all in one place as well and look at that dashboard. But then you want to go back and check and say, oh, wait, so somebody clicked from Meta and then they clicked from Meta and it went to my site. And your site can give you specific analytics, your Google can give you specific analytics, but you need to see what's happening in the meantime. Was there drop off?
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned Gemini because I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in sort of this new realm we're in with AI, where so much content is consumed within AI. So, it begs the question: will Google open up some sort of analytics into like how your content is being viewed within Gemini, or OpenAI adding ads? What kind of analytics is going to be provided within that platform so that you can see what's happening within your ads and your content within OpenAI? So what are your thoughts? Like, where is that going to go?
I would love to see analytics for Gemini. I would love to see analytics and what they are going to offer for for OpenAI adding ads. It was only a matter of time before you saw ads in your AI platforms.
Yeah.
But I think this is a new frontier for people. They know how to do it because they already have done it through Meta. They've already done it through Google. They've already done it through LinkedIn. Everybody knows, as we said, it's pay to play. And so how to make it work is they're going to drive more paying customers to be more successful. So I think we can be prepared for that for the AI responses, that if you're paying, you're going to get better visibility in Gemini than if you're not, But at the same time, I really don't know where it's all leading. I think AI is kind of that completely new world, but I don't think we have to be afraid of it, because at the end of the day, somebody needs to sit back and use the analytics that are provided to make big decisions. And I wouldn't trust AI to cook me soup. I wouldn't trust AI I don't trust AI to copyright for me. Because and that's not to say that there aren't efficiencies with AI. There's huge efficiencies with AI. But I think the point that we've seen time and again, whether it be the lawyer who, uses it in a case wrong, or somebody who just, all of the lawsuits that are happening around AI as far as personal connections with AI, is that it's a tool. It's not the master of the tool. And if people are prepared to be the master of the tool, then you can be more successful in your marketing efforts. But at the end of the day, it's the personal human touch that makes a difference, because a robot does not speak to me the way a human does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. But yeah, I think that having some analytics within these AI platforms, so you can understand how your content is being, consumed, would be really, really valuable.
100%. I also think that it's interesting to see how AI develops relative to people using it and putting in confidential information. There are some platforms now that are saying, hey, we're encrypted, so it's all confidential, it's not recorded, and things like that, And so if you are putting something out as a cautionary tale, if you're putting something into AI, recognize there's somebody out there that could access it too.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Only time will tell, and I'm sure we'll start to hear more and more stories about that as well. But in terms of Google Analytics, anything else you might want to share before we transition on?
I think the big thing with Google Analytics is having that holistic view from your ad to your website of what people are doing with your ad and with your website. Because we do a lot of tagging, Google Tag Manager on websites, so it kind of overlaps beyond just looking at the like a Google ad platform and saying, this is what people are doing with my content. We want to see the full funnel. And I think the more you can do the full funnel view, I think that's better.
Yeah, definitely.
Good point.
So
Yeah.
tagging
Tagging.
makes a lot of sense. Get that data. And speaking of data, our third topic is website data. Could you kick us off on this topic, Cynthia?
Yeah, so websites, a lot of platforms now, if you are a small business and you want to build your website in Wix, you can get the analytics from Wix itself. Squarespace is the same thing. WordPress, you can pull them. So I think it's finding out what people are doing on your site, who's on your site, what people are doing on your site, why they left the shopping cart. I think it's also, we talked about pixels, placing pixels on your site, whether it be to build audiences or to follow, to retarget. It's all of this stuff. We're talking about 3 different topics that all relate to each other. They all interplay. Social gives you a lot of authenticity and a lot of authority. As far as when somebody goes to you and they say, oh, that's a real company. They don't have 2 followers and they post regularly, right? Or that's a real service that they offer. Paid Meta or paid LinkedIn and Google ads all give you that higher touch, more intensity, retargeting of different audiences, targeting of audiences, and tell you what their behavior is. But ultimately, your goal is to get them to the site. Unless you're trying to get them to do directly a call from your website, from Google or Meta or whatever, unless you want to just open up FaceTime, which not everybody wants to do, you want to see what they're doing on the site. And I think that's where we talk about tagging, heat mapping, knowing what people are doing on your site, how long they're scrolling for, how long they're being active on your site, what their page views are, as well as the demographic of who is coming and who is doing what. I think those are really, really powerful insights that a lot of people are missing because they're only focusing on their social analytics or they're only focusing on their ad analytics. They're not looking at what actually happens, what the bounce rate is, or what happens when people show up on your site and everybody, you're driving them all to the purchase page, but they really needed to see the about page instead of the purchase page in order to make the leap to purchasing. What happens with the cart? If you're an e-commerce brand, are they checking out? Are they not? What is your response rate as far as automatic responses to people? I think there's a lot that goes into the marketing funnel that people don't realize. Analytics will tell you what is happening, but it's your choice to go and do something about with that information.
Yeah, such a good point.
Yeah, once you start talking website data, now you're talking our language because some of the things that we do to help identify consumers that are going to a website and understanding what they're doing, being able to retarget to them, in many different ways. Like we're doing retargeting via direct mail, all kinds of cool stuff for our customers, but also understanding that journey and shopping cart abandonment, but also what we call sort of re-identifying customers. So customers that are coming back to a website, maybe adding something to the cart, maybe not, but maybe they're already a customer, but they're not logged in, right? And they've logged in with it, or they've logged onto your website with a different device. So you don't know that it's the same customer, but using our pixel, we can tell you, hey, this is Cynthia. She's been to your website before. She's just not, she's using a different device, or she's not logged in right now. And guess what? She's, adding something to the cart or whatever. So, but having that ability to identify at that level, at the consumer level, gives you so much more data and so much more to work with, and gives you the ability to do levels of retargeting that you couldn't do otherwise.
100%. That's really, really important. I think people don't realize that their IP addresses are being pinged all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, why I talked about that with a friend and suddenly it came back and then I saw an ad for it. I'm like, that's because you sat with a friend who had searched for it on their site and we knew that you were in proximity to them. And we thought maybe they talked about it. They were like,
Yeah.
I said, it's all in the background. It's those pixels, it's that retargeting, it's the lookalike audiences. And I think when you look at the data based on the website, based on website activity, as well as those lists that you say you're populating, now that is the real secret sauce to success, I think, is seeing what your consumers are doing on your actual site, how they're engaging, how long they're engaging, what's their scroll time, did they go to multiple pages? Because that gives you the customer journey. I think ultimately what we're talking about is your analytics are telling you your customer journey. And if your ultimate goal is for sales of services or products, you need to understand what people are doing to get themselves to a place where they're ready to buy from you.
Yeah. You got to close the trust gap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
But
you
your
said,
sorry.
go ahead. No, your analytics,
I was
what?
gonna say, your analytics will tell you what that journey is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought it was a good example earlier when you shared they needed to see the About Us page first. So maybe your call to action didn't send them there yet. And if you're not looking at your analytics, you're not going to see something like that. That if they go to your About Us page, then they're more likely to purchase. But if you're just a marketer just doing their own thing, you're not thinking about sending them to the About Us page. That was a beautiful example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's building the trust, it's building the authority, but it's keeping the authenticity. I think that's making people want to engage with your content and buy your services and goods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the analytics telling you this is how somebody is learning to trust you, it's like analytics are kind of you're engaging in a relationship with your clients or your customers, okay? Even though it's on the internet, you're communing with them. And so just like with people, you need to say, what makes this person tick? What makes this, it is the psychology of marketing. And the analytics are telling you whether you are on or off base.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And if you can use that, it's a secret sauce, right? Because if you can use that to sort of learn the secrets, okay, everybody that buys from me first goes to this page, or some high percentage first goes to this page before they buy. Well, then you need to understand that whatever's on that page, that's super relevant content that maybe, to your point, is what engages them and gets them to trust you and make the decision to buy.
Right. And that's why we like people to say, I found you through social. I found you through Google. I found you through, but your Google Analytics will tell you what was organic, what was direct, what was through paid, and so learning all of that is really powerful. But I think a lot of people get intimidated by analytics because they don't know how to read them. And that's where a good marketer will say, let me come alongside you. I will give you a 5-page deck that breaks down the highlights, or I will give you an 80-page deck that really takes you into the deep weeds, whatever the client needs, because sometimes clients are overwhelmed, but they need to know that
Yeah, that's true. Although sometimes I feel disenchanted by analytics. For example, like attribution data, marketers can talk about that all day long, but the marketing attribution software out there, it'll label something, you get like 5 buckets, right? Paid, direct, organic, social, but like things don't always fall in that bucket and things are a little more complex. So organic might be getting credit for something that was actually paid, or paid might be getting credit for something that was actually just based on where they saw it first and then how they ended up coming to the website. Because who knows, they may have been, listening to your podcast for a year before they came to your website, or I think it's always interesting when you can ask them how they heard about you too, and then go back and check the analytics. I guess that was what was always disenchanting to me, is seeing what the customer said and then seeing what the analytics software said in terms of marketing attribution, but it still tells a story. Like, you can't ignore it. It still tells you something.
No, I think you're right. It tells a story, and you do have to be wary of the analytics. It's not the end all be all, but they get you 90% of the way there with what the customer journey is. But you also have to recognize that all of these things are playing off each other. Like retargeting, the whole point is somebody went to your website and you hit them on another platform. So, and if it's 7 touches in the digital sphere to make somebody purchase, okay, then by golly, you better be using all the different tools. And if somebody purchased, you may see what their last step was or what their couple of last steps were, but you didn't realize that 2 months ago they thought about it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I agree. It can be discouraging, but I think that it can be discouraging. We're like, we put so much into this platform and organic socials over here blowing it up and we're barely spending any time on it. And then you suddenly realize like, no, it is a marketing funnel. It is a marketing strategy. It is a marketing campaign beyond just
That
one.
one
And if they're
tactic,
all working in sync, then it's like, well, if you made a sale, also, why are we so discouraged? Maybe
Yeah,
we were wrong, but it worked.
Definitely. Such a good point. But even more better to know who's on your website. Because like if you're getting all those touches. So David, like, how do you suggest to people like, you know, you see a pop-up, you get the name, right? So like what we do, they see who's on their website. They might be 3 touches in, but they still didn't close. So like, then what do we do? Now we know who it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. The one thing I'll show you, give you an example of how we use our pixel for attribution, because the idea is, look, if you're going to have an ad campaign and you know who you're advertising to, right? Okay, so let's say we have this initial list of people that we're going to advertise to, and wherever you're getting that list, you're building it in-house or whatever it is. If you're able to then at least identify that the person came to your website after they were, after you reach them with that ad, you at least know at that point that you've got them to some level of engagement. And that's a huge signal. I mean, most times you're just advertising to people and you're monitoring clicks and things like that. And then you're tracking activity on the website, right? But knowing it at the individual level, that you were able to reach that consumer through that ad, you basically are given, to me, that's the secret sauce, right? Because at that point, you're given this information that enables you to know exactly how that journey occurred, right? And that you engage them, you got them into that funnel. And whether they bought or not, at least now sort of the level of engagement, but also what is the demographic of that person? Okay, so now we can take all the information on all the people that we tracked that came to the website from that ad campaign, and we can analyze just those people alone and figure out, put them in 2 different buckets. Here are the buckets of people that converted, and here are the buckets of people that didn't convert. Let's figure out what are the difference between these 2 people, and what do we need to do to get more of these people that did convert, and what do we need to do to get these people that didn't convert to convert. And so with those analytics, there's so much you can do, especially once you know who's engaging with you. So, going back to what Cynthia said earlier about, I think, I don't know, I think it was before we went live, but trying to target healthcare practitioners. It's like, it's a very specific niche, and there's only a certain number of people, and there's certain ways that you want to engage with them, and there's certain ways you don't want to engage with them. But having that level of data to be able to do that level of analytics, to understand that in that scenario that I just gave, super powerful. And it's an example that we're actually doing with a client as well. So I can tell you it does work.
That's awesome. I think that the ability to put essentially the face with the IP address.
Yeah.
It's
once you know who
really
that
powerful.
person is,
Really
once you know who that
powerful.
person is, there's so much more data you can obtain about that to analyze that further, right? Because now you know these specific people. Now I can get all the demographics about those people, and I can truly understand who they are and what they're doing and why they're doing it, why they're engaging with me.
I've had some, especially if you have a range of services or a range of products, you have to speak to a couple different audiences.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're saying, okay, this is my ideal. Everybody wants to know, what's your ideal customer? Who's your ideal client? And you're kind of like, and a lot of times it's more than just one ideal. It's, well, I have a digital download over here that I want people to buy into, and I have an actual physical product that I want somebody else to buy. And they may not always be the same people, but you have to drive it to the same site. And yes, it's a messaging issue. But at the same time, as you said, if you can pull in the analytics and say, we're getting both, we're getting all the people, we're getting both. But group one is actually engaging more with group two's assets, then you would say, oh, that's kind of interesting. I didn't realize that these people, I can pivot and say, these people now are interested in products I didn't think they were.
Yeah. And that's easy for me when I have, 4 or 5 different profiles of people that I'm reaching. But what about a company that's much larger with a large range of products,
Exactly.
that has 1,000 products, and you could have, hundreds of different profiles of different types of people that you're trying to reach. So it gets a lot more complex.
Yes. Yes. And the more complex, the more you need the analytics to tell you what's going on so you can segment and respond appropriately. Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely. Such a good conversation. I'm sure we could probably have talked about website data a little longer, but we're running out of time, and we need to ask you about your favorite tools in your tech stack, Cynthia. Something we ask all of our guests. So what's your answer?
I would have to say, which is appropriate for this conversation, it's dashboards. It's if somebody gives me a good Google dashboard, a HubSpot dashboard, I want to see where things are and it's like the stock market where you're checking it every 10 minutes, okay, to see what's going on. That's what I like for Mezzo and for our clients, is to be able to say, we monitor the analytics all the time. The best way to do that is through those dashboards.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to hear that, because actually I do still really appreciate a good dashboard myself. So when I start hearing all these AI people talking about, well, dashboards, we won't need those anymore, I'm like, what? Where will I look? Where will my graphs be?
How am I going to get my high?
Exactly. Well, you know what's cool is, like, we have a bunch of dashboards in QuickSight, which is AWS product. And I haven't used it yet, but there's an AI tool with it now that you can ask it questions about the data, which I thought was really cool. And I haven't played with it yet. So that's one of the things on my to-do list to try to play with.
I love that idea. I love that idea. I mean, that's a use of AI that would be really powerful for, it's like old school meets new school. And that's kind of a jam.
Yeah.
100%. Like when you talked about the direct mail, I was like, oh, print was my first love. And then I realized that, and Mezzo we actually are in the process of sending out a DM mailer to just people in my region. And it's got a QR code on it. And we're going to see what happens with the QR code. We're going to look at the analytics and say, did anybody do anything with it? It's got my number. It's got the number for Mezzo to call and stuff like that. And we're doing a full funnel campaign kind of for the new year. But as you said, just because you can't hold it in your hand doesn't mean it isn't powerful. And just because you can hold it in your hand doesn't mean that it's gone by the wayside.
Yeah, so true. Yep. Well, Cynthia, before we go, this has been such a good conversation. I'm sure people will want to check out your website and go visit you. Could you let listeners know how they might be able to find you?
You can find us at Mezzo Creative on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find us on LinkedIn at Mezzo Creative LLC. And then you can find us at mezzocreative.com. And we are in the process of revamping our website. So stay tuned, because in the next week or so, you will see something cooler than what it is now.
Ooh, awesome. Well, we will stay tuned. Thank you so much for coming on, Cynthia.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
Good. Yeah, I appreciate you joining us today. This was a great conversation. And I guess I'll let Jessie close it out for us. Thanks again.
Absolutely. And that I'll do with a video. So thank you, everyone. Until next time. So audience members, we want to invite you to get powered by BDEX. Build authentic connections with your audience and drive unprecedented engagement. So just imagine harnessing the power of AI to craft your audiences that truly resonate with your brand, ensuring that your marketing is hitting the mark every time. We want to bring you closer to those marketing goals, and we're eager to guide you. So just visit BDEX.com. You can click on the Talk to an Expert button and get powered by BDEX. Deconstructing Data is the show that makes data make sense. Every Thursday, David Finkelstein and myself, Jessie Lezak, sit down with industry experts to unpack how data really drives marketing. We do this in plain language anyone can understand. If you want real insights, real conversations, and zero jargon, tune into Deconstructing Data live on LinkedIn every Thursday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Yo.